So in this project, we're going to be making a really simple matching game using the graphics package that we've had some experience with so far. This is what the final game will look like. I want to demonstrate the flow and the look and the feel of it. Uh, the game starts by having this 5x5 grid of all the cards with their backs facing us. So this light green um, color is kind of the backs of the cards, and the yellow are the cards' edges. And it proceeds round by round where the player clicks. And so they click, and a card gets flipped over, and then they click on their second choice. And if it's not a match, we see it for a little bit, and then both cards flip back over. And so if I were to try again to find something that's a match, let's see if I can find a match. So this card and this card are both seaweed, and so when I get a match, they stay face up, and an X is drawn over them. And now, in subsequent rounds, if I were to pick a tile and then select something that's already matched, here I'm clicking on this card, it's not a valid second selection. If I click outside the border, it's also not a valid selection. But if I click some other card that hasn't been flipped yet, that's a valid second selection. That wasn't a match, and so it flips back over. And so the game proceeds like this. And let me just kind of bumble through this to show the cards and what it looks like to get a match and how matches are tracked. I'm always I'm inefficiently playing, so you'll probably see the potential for matches, and then I'll miss them because I'm kind of thinking, I'm kind of talking instead of thinking. It's a 5x5, so 25 cards. So there are 12 cards there that have pairs to get to 24, and then there's a random unpaired card that doesn't have a match. And so when we're done, there will be one card that isn't flipped back over, the extra random card that doesn't have a match. And every time we replay the game, the positions are randomly selected, and which card is the odd man out, so to speak, is randomly selected. I should really start to pay attention in order to actually reach the end of this game. So there's an ammonite. We'll match between those. Feel like I've seen some of these things before, and I really should be paying closer attention. And so when we reach the final end of the game, like we found all the pairs and this one remaining card that doesn't have a pair, we call a function called u1, and that causes the border to flash. And the game at this point becomes unresponsive. Like if I click on this, it doesn't flip over. If I click on the border on match pairs, it doesn't flip over. So the game's ended, and this is just sort of a celebratory screen. So the only thing we can really do right now is close the window. But you'll notice that in your final game, as in this one, the window should close cleanly without any sort of traceback or error. So if you'll notice down here, we won't see any errors. It'll just have a exit status 0, process finished with exit code 0. So it finished cleanly. So you're going to need to have sort of a try except block to make sure that the function that tries to get the mouse click isn't trying to get a mouse click on an empty window. And that's what the final game should look like.